Welcome to the Friday edition, the Friday voice VNO, or rather Q&A edition, voiceover Q&A edition of the daily voiceover huddle. There, I got it. I'm Bill DeWees, and I hope you're doing well. Welcome. Good to have you here. And being the Q&A edition, by the way, if you've got a question, make sure you throw it up in the live chat. At the very least, let me know where you're watching and listening from this morning. By way of introduction, I'm Bill DeWees, professional voice talent. Been doing this full time for the past almost 18 years. I'm a voiceover coach, voiceover demo producer. I've authored a couple of books on the topic. My latest, Get Paid Using Your Voice, Get Found, Get Heard, and Get Hired. If you're looking for the straightest line, the straightest path between where you're at and where you want to be in voiceover, this is the roadmap. This lays it out for you. It gives you the high 30,000 foot view of things. So you can get the digital download version of that in the link below the description for less than $10. So check it out. Well, as we or before we get into the questions this morning, just wanted to make a quick mention. I'm often asked about the ebb and flow of voiceover work. Are there times when you get more work than other times? Are there times when it's a little more sparse than other times? I just wanted to say that this traditionally for me, I'm not saying it's this way for everybody. It really depends on what kind of work you do. I do a lot of corporate work. So the week before, excuse me, and the week after July 4th tends to be the slowest for me. So it's July 4th just around the corner of next Thursday. For me, I know next week will be slow. Actually, this week already I could see a difference. It's already slowing down. So it'll be slower next week, and the week after, as a lot of people will be taking vacation during that time. So if you see that happen in your voiceover business, don't panic. That's, it's seasonal. For those of you who do a lot of retail, like commercial type work, Christmas could be really big for you. Christmas is not. I don't get more work at Christmas time than any other time because I don't do like a high volume of commercial work. I do commercials, but not high volume. So for me, it's not a big deal. However, later in the summer, as I head into the fall, open enrollment season, I do lots of open enrollment. So that's a busy time for me. So it's not just a general, one size or one answer fits all. It depends really what kind of work you do. But right around this time of year, lots of people taking vacation, as you can imagine, here in the U.S. especially, because they like to do it around the July 4th Independence holiday. So there you go. Let's check in on the live stream chat, see what's going on. But before I do that, just a reminder that the clock is ticking and it's counting down the minutes until Mallory's Fiverr training will no longer be available. It is up until midnight tonight. So if you missed it on Tuesday, it's about 3 hours. No, it's 3.5 hours worth of training on all the latest, greatest that's happening with Fiverr. So if you're looking to use Fiverr as a marketing channel, one of the spokes of your marketing wheel, that would be the program to check out. And it's available until midnight tonight. So a link is below in the description. Make sure to check it out. Now let's go to the live stream or the live stream chat rather, and see what's going on. We got Rusty first in this morning in the Upper Peninsula, way up there. That's about as far north as you can get without being in Canada. Rob in lovely Loveland. How you doing, Rob? We've got John in Denver. Jim, what's up? In the birthplace of rock and roll, Memphis. Terry in Falston, Maryland. Welcome to beautiful VO Friday. Jason says good morning from Kearney, Nebraska. Ethan in sunny, not hot, but sunny Toronto, Ontario. Patty, TGIF in Palm Desert, California. Scott, good morning in sunny Brockville, Ontario, Canada. He says, thank you for sharing your wisdom. Well, Scott, thank you for being here. Jim says, going to give Mallory's video a good look this morning. That's a good plan, Jim. I like that. JR says, good morning from sunny Austin, Texas. Happy Friday. Aaron, happy Friday from Columbia, Missouri. Dennis, happy Friday from Pasadena, California. Marla in Texas. We've got Calvin checking in from hot and humid Charleston, South Carolina. Phil in Tokyo. Mark in Montreal. And Mark has a question, our first question of the morning. I see a lot of videos on Fiverr where the VO talent makes a short self-introduction just before their demos. Does this really help for getting more jobs? Well, that would be debatable. Mallory talked about that in her program, and she steers clear of that. Reason being, people aren't there to hear you say hi. They're here to hear what you can do. So the sooner you can get into that, the better off you're going to be, generally speaking. Jason, good morning to you in Newport, Oregon. John in Rhinebeck, New York. Mark, good morning in Wilmington, North Carolina. Doug's in Greensboro, North Carolina. Wayne in Port Orchard, Washington. Ron, Charleston, South Carolina. Emma in Huntington Beach says, especially on longer projects like audiobooks, sometimes it's hard to match my performance and the noise floor to exactly how it sounded yesterday. Tips? The noise floor should be pretty consistent unless it's a matter of like traffic outside or something like that. Should maybe that changes a little bit. But the human voice, there's a lot of variability there. I would say if you're having issues with your noise floor, you might want to look into a plugin like Wave's NS1, which, in my opinion, is the best software plugin for that kind of thing. That might help make it a little more consistent. The voice thing, though, yeah, it can time of day, the way you're feeling that day. I mean, the pollen count, anything can affect that. And so let me just tell you the way that I match up when I'm working on a long project, be it audiobook or any other project where there are multiple sessions needed. I always use chapter 1 as the reference chapter. In other words, you always want to make sure that what you're trying to match up with is the same thing every day. So chapter 1 makes the most sense. If you're on day 20 of something and you just refer back to chapter 19, 19 may not sound exactly like chapter 1. You may be drifting a little bit. So use chapter 1. That's your reference point. Always go back to that. What I like, here's the way I do it. And by the way, you won't always be 100% nobody. I mean, when I listen to audiobooks, I mean like big audiobooks, I can tell, I can hear when somebody's doing it, it's a different day and they're doing a different session. It's subtle, but it's there. So there's rarely a 100% match, but you want to get as close as you can. And the way I do that is this. So I put my headphones on, I go back to chapter 1 and I listen. And then I begin to read along with what I'm listening to. I mean, you could go back and read chapter 1 again if you want to, but I'll just look if I'm on chapter 13, I'll just read chapter 13 as I'm listening to me read chapter 1. And what I'm listening for are things like the proximity to the mic, because being an inch closer or further away is going to change the frequency response of what's going on. If you're closer, you're going to hear more of the lower frequencies. If you're further away, the lower frequencies will start to drop off and you'll hear more of the higher frequencies. So I'm moving to listen to make sure I'm matching that up. I'm matching the pace of what I'm doing. I'm trying to match the energy level of what I'm doing as long as it's appropriate. Now, if it's fiction and scenes change in books, then you need to match, understand the context of what's going on. That's how I match up. And it's worked really, really well for me over the years. Good question. Let's see here. Bob is in Reidsville, North Carolina. Good morning, Bob. Vanessa in Belgium. Good to have you here this afternoon. Vanessa, Robert in Atlanta. Ali in Karachi, Pakistan. Ali, good to have you here. Thanks for checking in with us. Corey in Whitehall, Wisconsin. Hey, Corey. Mike in Spanish Fort, Alabama. Have a great weekend, everyone. Ali says, if I were to come to America for voiceover work, which city would be the best, especially when it comes to animation and video games? Generally speaking, it doesn't matter where you live. Generally speaking, for voiceover week or for voiceover work, Ali. And you can certainly get animation and video games no matter where you live. However, this would be my advice. If you're looking to make animation and video games, like that's your thing, that's really the only thing you're interested in, and that's where you want your focus to be, and you want to do it at the highest level, most of that is going on in Los Angeles. There's still, that's where a lot of the production's happening. And that would be a good place to be. That being said, you wouldn't have to. With the technology, there's lots of opportunities to audition and to market to all kinds of different producers and production houses. So you wouldn't have to. But if my goal was like to let's say do Disney movies or something along that line, Pixar, again, very high level, I'd move to Los Angeles, become an actor, and try to do my best to try to audition for those kind of jobs and get the right representation to put those opportunities in front of me as frequently as possible. Sandra says, good morning from Dallas, Fort Worth. Finally got out of my way, got started, and have booked my first audiobook. Sandra, the voiceover bell. A victory. Way to go. Awesome. Michael, thank you for your inspiration. He says, just getting started. Looking forward to my journey. Hey, Michael. Carmel, hello from London. Hey, well, good morning. Good afternoon. Good to have you here. Kirk, we have a great representation from outside the US today. Kirk in Toronto, Canada. Vanessa, is it possible to stay anonymous, as in not show your face, and have a prolific VO career? Yeah, you can. Um, yes, absolutely you can. There's much debate about, the value of a headshot and that kind of thing. And earlier in my career, I stayed away from it as much as possible. I still don't, I'm not a big fan of using a headshot because your face has nothing to do with how you sound. However, it might warm some people up to you just to see a real human face. But generally speaking, it can actually prejudice somebody. I don't want them to know my age, my ethnicity. I don't want that. I don't want them to know anything about me. All I want them to know is what I can do behind a microphone. So there's that, but that being said, no, you can have a prolific career without showing your face. Mark, hello and good morning in California's Central Valley. Ronan, hello from Limerick, Ireland. The actual Limerick, Ireland. Fantastic. Good to have you here today. As I said, we have a great representation from outside of the US. I love that. Dr. Bob says, good rainy morning from Clearwater, Florida. Thanks for your daily encouragement and coaching ideas. We are happy for the rain and your advice. Kirk says, how do I start making income? I can't that's a big question. I can't afford right now any courses. What can I do to make income for myself? Well, if you're talking about income and voiceover, uh, and you haven't had any training at all, my advice would be to save your money until you can get some sort of direction and training. I'm not saying, well, I mean, you're in a good place. This voiceover channel has nearly 1,300 videos, so you're gonna get a lot of information. It would be good to get some one-on-one training, and I mean, literally, I would save my pennies. I would do whatever I needed to do, to get that, because you're going to need to be able to get some performance training so that, you can at the very least start with a DIY demo and then learn to market yourself. But again, you're gonna get a lot of that information on this channel. So but in terms of how you do that, there's a thousand ways to get the initial income to do that. We live in the gig economy, which makes it simpler, at least to generate some sort of income. Grant says, hi, Bill. I have an Upwork client who is very difficult to work with, and the work to rate ratio is not worth it for me. How do you let someone on a platform like this without risking a bad review? Well, first of all, what I would do is I would make sure any work that I've agreed to do, I finish it up. And then you have a couple of options after that. Once the job's done, you've got your review that you can then refuse working with them later, or what you can do is make it very difficult. Raise your rate, triple your rate or something ridiculous. At least make it worth your while. Or just, if I really despised working with them, then I would just refuse the work going forward because it's your business, and you could just be honest and say, I really find it difficult and frustrating to work with you. And I think I don't think or you could just be even more diplomatic. I don't think we're a good fit for each other to work with each other. Therefore, you know, be best to find somebody else to work with you on this project that would be a better fit. But wait till you get your reviews in before you do that. Mata in Poland. My gosh, who is promoting this channel in Europe? We've got Mata. Thanks for being here. This is fantastic. I love representation from over the pond. This is fantastic. Caramel says, do you think getting voiceover representation by an agency is a good idea? No, not particularly. I mean, it won't hurt you, but I can tell you this. In 2024, it's not necessary. They used to be the gatekeepers. If you wanted to get jobs, good jobs, you had to have representation. You don't anymore. They are readily, you have access to that through all kinds by direct marketing to production companies, by getting on platforms. There, most of the, whether it's voices.com, voice123, Fiverr. My daughter Mallory just did a session, was it yesterday or the day before, for Amazon Prime? She did another session for Red Bull through Fiverr the other day. I mean, it gets paid well for it. We had somebody just share, they just finished here on the live chat just earlier this week. They got paid over $2,200 doing a project for a client. I mean, agencies are hard because the way that an agency represents you, you just represent. You're like you fill a spot in their inventory. So for the agent, it's not so much. They're not a manager. Their job is not to get you work. Their job is to book work for somebody that's on their roster, so they get paid. And I'm not criticizing. I mean, that's just the way it works, and that's fine as long as you understand that. Another thing is that oftentimes auditions are cast to multiple agencies simultaneously. I saw it happen the other day. There's an agency out of Kansas City here in the U.S. that I've done quite a bit of work for over the years. I received a audition. I submitted it, and like the next day, I got the exact same audition from another agent in the Chicago area. I mean, they just get so it just makes it really difficult to win these auditions. So I don't bother with it anymore. I used to have like at one point I had like 14 or 15 agents. Now I've got a couple that I get work from on a semi-regular basis. So I'll audition for them, but direct market it, or get on a good platform or two or three of those things. Agency would be my very last choice. Again, I'm not anti-agent. I'm just saying if you want to get great results, that's not the place to start. Gene in Dallas, Fort Worth, how are you doing? Ali says, I also had a Fiverr account up for about 6 years, hadn't had as much luck with attracting clients. Should I make a new account from the group up? Well, I mean, you can. Or if it was me, I would just resurrect the old account because, there's things that you need to understand about Fiverr. And if it wasn't working for you, it was probably your gig graphic wasn't attracting attention. Because remember, it's like a book cover. Nobody's going to read your book unless you have a great cover. Once you get their attention and you get the impression, and then they click, are the demos great? Because if the demo's great, they're not going to move further. So you got to make sure that all the links in the chain are strong. So I don't think there's anything wrong with resurrecting your current gig and just making sure that it's what it needs to be. Or if you want to start from scratch, I think that's fine as well. Scott says, when beginning your voiceover career like I am, what do you suggest to help maintain focus between auditions, creating demo reels, and all the other tedious and sometimes time-consuming tasks? Yeah, that's the life of a self-employed voice actor. There's always going to be those distractions. I think the most important thing is when it comes to auditions, because auditions do require a certain amount of focus and mental energy. And I can tell when I'm distracted, I don't do as well on my auditions. And so what my recommendation is that you set aside time, you block out time on your calendar where you say, this is my audition time. I turn off the telephone. If you're, if you have a significant other, tell them, hey, look, unless it's life and death, don't contact me. Don't come knocking on the studio door. Don't, this is my hour, this is my 2 hours, this is my 4 hours, whatever it is. This is where I need complete 100% attention and focus on what I'm doing to get the best result. That's how I would approach that. Okay, guys, it's about time for me to wrap up because I've got I think about 3 jobs waiting on me this morning, so I'm going to have to run. But hello to Jim and Asher and Augusta, Georgia. Oh, asking me if I've done work for the Masters golf tournament. No, I've done work for the PGA Tour, Fox Sports. I've never done anything No, not for the Masters. I have for the PGA Championship. Yeah, and some other stuff, but yeah, not the Masters. That would be awesome. Well, that'd be awesome. What'd be awesome is to play Augusta, I think. Or actually, I'd probably play so poorly, I would retire my golf career at that point. Not that I really have any kind of career to speak of, but my golf game's not all that sharp. All right, guys. Hey, I got to wrap this up because I've got to get to work myself being a full-time voiceover talent. So I'm going to bid you adieu. Thank you for being here. I appreciate all of you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you Monday morning. We do this every weekday morning. I'll see you then. Talk to you soon.